Welcome everyone. This is an introduction to the Online Writing Center, and I'm really glad you could make it this evening or you're watching this recording. We've got a lot of great information for you. Just from the start, I would like to mention that we do record our webinars. So if you have to hop out early this evening or ever want to see a webinar but can't attend live, you can always find our recordings on our website. And I'll go over that in a little bit, but I just wanted to preface that you don't have to remember everything as I'm going over this information. Another thing I want to mention before we get started is if you have questions for me throughout the webinar, I will do my best to answer them. Just add your questions in the chat room like you've been chatting. You can send them to the whole group or just directly to me if you would prefer. Thanks so much for joining in the icebreaker here. We've got a lot of people in different degree programs, a lot of folks from Texas, but we've got some from other places. We are really glad you're here this evening. A lot of folks getting back into school. You're not alone. You're in the right place if you're looking to get back into the swing of things, or if this is your first time in school, maybe in a graduate program. We are really excited to support you through this new journey. So I want to kick us off by introducing you to some basics about the Writing Center. And I'm going to show you a few websites here in just a moment, but I'll go over this slide. And again, you'll have access to all of this information after we conclude this webinar. We will post the video and these presentation slides to our webinar page on the Writing Center's website. So we have a new quick link in My ACU. And so if you go to your My ACU homepage, there's a menu called Quick Links. And from there, you can find the Online Writing Center. You can find us in a variety of ways, but that might be the easiest way to access the Writing Center's resources. We've also got a brief video tutorial, about 5 minutes long, for how to make a Writing Center appointment. Since you can't physically go to the Writing Center in this online world, we've got this video tutorial to really guide you through those steps when it's your first time making an appointment, just to make sure you are confident that you've saved your appointment and you know how to submit your paper for feedback. The Writing Center tutors work with you at any stage of your writing. And we say this because sometimes people are hesitant to submit a paper that's unfinished. Maybe even you're hesitant and don't know how to get started on a writing project. And we can help you at any stage, so you don't have to finish a paper before submitting it to get some feedback. Even if you've got an outline or just a paragraph, that's fine. We're happy to help you know what to do next. There are two types of tutoring appointments. And so this first bullet point is the default. It's asynchronous appointments. And what that means is that you're not actually interacting in real time like we are right now. Instead, you're simply uploading your paper to your tutor, and your tutor will send you feedback via email within 24 hours of your appointment time. And so you'll check your inbox and you'll see an email titled Writing Center Report. And in that email, you'll see a link to your feedback and any notes from the tutor. If you are interested in a real-time appointment, maybe you want a phone call or a Zoom session to go over something and talk with a tutor in real time. We understand that that works best for some folks, and so we currently offer those by request. So what you'll need to do if you want a real-time tutoring appointment is either email the tutor directly if you know which tutor you'd like to work with, or you can email our whole team. And I've got the team's email address right here, onlinewritingcenter@acu.edu. And I'll give you that in the chat room. There you go. So that's our shared team email address. You can email us if you would like to request a phone or Zoom appointment. If you do request that, be sure you give us some windows of availability, and we'll be more likely to accommodate that in a timely manner. And I will show you this last bullet point here in just a moment. You can access a lot of writing-related resources on the Writing Center's website. So before I move forward in our slides, let me go ahead and show you and walk you through a few of these websites so you've seen them and feel comfortable with them. Okay, give me one moment. Okay, you should now see my web browser. Let me know if you don't see it. So I've got my ACU pulled up, and your screen will look something like this. It might look a little different depending on your program and your level. But this is what I was talking about as probably the best way to find the Writing Center. Here you can see the menu labeled Quick Links. And so if you click that menu, you'll scroll down, it's alphabetical, and find the Online Writing Center. All right, so this is our landing page, and it's got other links and videos. The video tutorial I mentioned is linked here. And in this middle box where you see schedule an appointment, this is the link you'll use to go directly to our schedule. And I actually will have to pull it up here separately. Give me one moment. I'll show you the schedule as well. So this is a new website that you're looking at, and we've just compiled it thinking that it's going to be the easiest way for students to utilize the Writing Center. And let me pull up the schedule. This link only works for students, so give me one moment. Okay. So if you click on this link, schedule an appointment now, it will take you directly into our schedule. So before you go to our schedule, I do recommend reading over the appointment formats, reminding yourself with this video tutorial how to set up that first appointment. But from there, after you've kind of read about our appointment system, you can go into our schedule. And the current day of the week is what's going to pop up first. And the color scheme might be a little different in the student view than from what you see here. Usually grayed out or blacked out boxes are unavailable. Yours will show yellow appointment boxes if you've made those appointments. So yellow will stand out and you'll see which appointments are yours. And all of these white boxes are available times. So you can see it's week 0. We've got quite a bit of availability on the schedule. I'm not sure if any of you are already working ahead, but if you are, there's lots of times if you want to make an appointment, and go ahead and start early and get feedback on your writing. Especially if you're returning to school or it's been a long time, using the Writing Center is free, and we highly recommend starting early rather than waiting until finals week or a long time down the way in your program, because we believe that writing improvement really takes place over time. And so if you start working with a tutor or multiple tutors now, you're going to see a lot of improvement over the course of the whole term or multiple terms. So that's our recommendation. In your schedule here, you can go up to 2 weeks in advance by clicking next week here. And that way you can schedule in advance and save your spot. You're allowed to make 2 appointments per week with a Writing Center tutor. And the way you make those appointments is, let's say we wanted to schedule an appointment with me, Julie, tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. All we do is click on that appointment, and it will open up a new pop-up window with this appointment form. And so here is all of the information. I'll go over this in a moment, but I just wanted you to see that that's where you fill out the appointment and you'll save your spot. And again, you don't have to have a completed paper to make an appointment. You don't actually even need to submit your paper at the same time as you make your appointment. Let's say I did want to sign up for 5 o'clock. I have until 5 o'clock tomorrow, Central Time, to submit that paper. As long as I've saved that spot, I can go in and submit that paper anytime before 5. And then I mentioned we have a 24-hour turnaround time. That just means if I have a 5 o'clock appointment on Thursday, I'll receive that feedback by 5 p.m. on Friday, which is a pretty quick turnaround time. Some writing centers have 48 to 72-hour return time. So we are proud of getting it to you quickly, and we know that you're working in a really fast-paced online environment. So we try to keep that in mind as we give you feedback. And hopefully I'm not going too quick going over all of these things. I'll go over the appointment process one more time before we're done, but let me move on to the Writing Center's website. So here is the link for the Online Writing Center's website, and it'll take you directly to this page. Again, you can access the schedule from this homepage as well. We've put it in a few different places for you. And on our website, this is really our warehouse. So if you're looking for resources, sample papers, webinars, this is where you need to go because this is where we keep all of our resources. So let me show you first, under resources, APA style is the primary style guide used throughout all of ACU Dallas programs, with one, maybe two exceptions. So APA style here, if that is a foreign term to you, don't worry. We have a lot of APA resources for beginners all the way through advanced citation use. I'll mention the course paper template is the first link under our templates tab on this page, and I highly recommend using this template. Let me give you the link here in the chat room if you'd like to follow along. And I'll actually grab the link to the My ACU quick link as well. So you can browse all of our APA resources here. I'll show you the template before we're through with this webinar. You can also see under services is where we house our writing webinars. So go to the writing webinars page. You all have accessed either this recording or this Zoom link perfectly well, so you know how to do that. But I did want to point out here, in this top meeting information, you can also register or RSVP for upcoming webinars. And we highly recommend registering. You don't have to attend, but the perk of them is that you'll get an automatic reminder email the day before a webinar, and the day after the webinar, you'll receive the webinar's recording and the presentation slides automatically. So whether or not you can go to the webinar live, RSVP for it if you would like to receive the recording after it's done. So you can see on our webinars page, this is where we got our full schedule for the current term. And we've already completed 2 webinars. So you can see the ones that we've recorded and already posted here. And generally within 24 hours or so, you can come to this page to see the videos and the recordings of these webinars. If you scroll past the schedule, you can see our warehouse of webinar recordings. And I highly recommend looking over what recordings we've already got for any courses that you're currently taking or going to be taking. So let's say you're taking a Bible class, Bible 101. You can see we've already got 2 webinars here that you can go ahead and look, maybe schedule in some time before these assignments are due. This one, these are both general, but let's say we've got some EDD students in here. If you're taking Lead 701, 7-11, 7-14. You can see the description of each webinar. This one's about a week 1 assignment in Lead 7-14. So if that applies to you, you can go ahead and check that out and get that tutorial on the assignment before you even have started week 1, or watch it when it's most relevant to you. So this is a really great resource for you. Take a look and see what's applicable for you and the courses you're taking. And a great question, do we have a webinar for the precision medicine program? So that's a really new program. I would look under healthcare administration for the most relevant webinars. We don't have one specific to precision medicine right now, but you can see we've got different healthcare administration geared courses and webinars, and these might be applicable to you. We've also got, let's see, dissertations and doctoral projects. We also have the full catalog here. So these general webinars that are applicable to all degree programs, like avoiding plagiarism, or talking about adding analysis and synthesis to your writing, these more generic topics. We have these recordings as well. That's a great question. And then another question is, how did I get to the existing videos and webinars pre-recordings? Let me give you this page. It's on our website, but I'll give you the direct link in the chat room. Again, if you are going to our website to get to that webinars page, you'll click on services and scroll down in the services menu to writing webinars under that services menu, and then you'll reach this page. Great questions. Feel free to keep asking them as you have them. I'm going to go back to our presentation slides now and go over more resources that you have available to you as an ACU Dallas student. Give me one moment to go back to my slides. Sorry about that. Any other questions that you might have about the Writing Center, feel free to shoot me a chat as I'm sharing my screen. All right, let me know if you don't see this slide that I'm sharing. So in a nutshell, to make a Writing Center appointment, there's 3 quick steps. The first is to schedule an appointment in our schedule, like I showed you. You can do that step anytime and work on your paper. Then when you're ready to submit, you can go back into that appointment form and submit your paper through the submission links that you'll find there. And then lastly, you'll receive feedback from your tutor within 24 hours of your appointment time. A couple of upcoming webinars I'd like to highlight. So for those of you who are in the EDD program, we have a whole series of webinars called EDD in Progress. And some of these they say virtual release, so you can check our website for that recording. So one coming up for 7-11 is this Sunday. This Sunday evening, I will be hosting an introduction to graduate writing in APA style. So if APA or graduate writing is a bit foreign or unfamiliar, or it's just been a while, that's a webinar for you. It's also at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you're in the DNP or BSN to DNP program, we also have a series of webinars geared towards you called Writing as a Nurse. So check out the virtual release of this webinar, especially if you are in Nursing 655 on Tuesday this coming week. Tuesday evening, we've got a deep dive into the Introduction to APA 7th edition webinar. So make sure you come to that, mark your calendar, or watch the recording if you need a refresher or an introduction to using APA style as you incorporate sources into your writing. All right, so a few key writing resources that you have available. I've listed a few things we've already looked at. The Writing Center's website and our webinar page. You also have access to a self-guided Canvas course in APA in your Canvas course menu. So that should already be there for you. You can email the Writing Center if it's not, or email your advisor. But check that out. It's self-guided. You don't have to complete any quizzes or anything in that course. It's just a resource for you, again, especially if you're new to APA. The library has our distance learning portal. You'll be going there to do all of your researching. You can also go to that portal and chat with our librarians in real time, if it's during hours, or find their contact information. We have great librarians ready to assist you in APA and in your research needs. A couple of resources that you have for free, Grammarly Premium. You can go to you can find this in My ACU in your resources tab, but you have access with your ACU email address to download Grammarly Premium for free. So check that out. This is a PDF of instructions for how to make sure you can download that and use it. You also have access to Microsoft Office for free with your ACU email account. So you'll just log in with your ACU login and password, and you can download Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and anything else you might want to use. So a great question in the chat room about the Grammarly Premium code. In the PDF that I've linked here, again, it's also in My ACU. You can see the code that's needed and just follow those steps. Again, if you want to access any of these links in the PowerPoint, you can also find these slides on our webinar page. You could download them, keep them if you want to refer back to these links and actually click on them. All right, so for the rest of this webinar, we are going to go over a couple key learning objectives. The first is how to get writing feedback from the Writing Center, but also from other sources. And then understanding how to read an assignment description. We're going to get into an example of the writing process, essentially, and how I might suggest you get started when you are faced with a writing assignment. How do you get from that writing assignment in Canvas and start writing on the page? Getting started is often the hardest part. All right, so like I mentioned, you have a lot of ways to get writing feedback. The first is from us in the Online Writing Center. The second is from tutor.com, so I'll go over that in just a moment. And then you can also seek feedback from your peers, the other students in your courses, and your faculty, of course. So some of these slides are going to go over information I've already covered, so I might go through them quickly, but they are here for you if you want to refer back to them. Again, the Writing Center is completely free. You get 2 Writing Center sessions per week. And we also follow ACU Dallas's weekly schedule. And that starts on Tuesday and ends on Monday. So you'll get used to that the more courses you take, but we do follow ACU Dallas's schedule. So between every Tuesday and Monday, you can make 2 Writing Center appointments with us. And when you're working with us, you can trust that our tutors are trained in APA and they're experienced with ACU online programs and assignments. So we are here to support you for the long haul. All right, I've already gone over how to access the Writing Center tutoring schedule, but those links are there for you. Look for a time on the calendar that matches your schedule and fill out that appointment form. The most important thing that I'll mention here is that you need to click the button, Create Appointment, which is at the bottom of the form. If you do that, you will receive a confirmation email. If you don't, hit that button, or maybe the appointment form times out and you don't receive a confirmation email, go back in and double check that you created the appointment. Sometimes if it doesn't get created, the appointment won't save, so the tutor won't know that you're trying to get some feedback. All right, so this is that appointment form that will pull up when you're trying to make your appointment. And here I'll just go over a few things so that you're familiar with this appointment form. The very top has a place for you to change the length of the appointment. So if you are working on something that is generally 6 pages or longer, go ahead and make your appointment for 60 minutes. Especially if you're working on down the line like a dissertation chapter or a long research paper, go ahead and make it 60 minutes. If it's just a short paper or presentation, something really quick, you can make your appointment for 30 minutes instead. So these are the instructions in this first text box for how to submit your paper. We have it at the top so that it's really easy for you to open this window and submit your paper whenever you need to. But initially, I do suggest you scroll past this information, fill out the form, and create your appointment. So save that appointment before you submit your paper. That is where some students get caught up. If you submit your paper but don't create the appointment, the tutor won't know you're trying to get feedback. So we'll scroll past it and fill out these text boxes. This first one is the most important one that I'll talk about. It's the Canvas link to the assignment directions and rubric. So when you're on your assignment page in Canvas, you will copy and paste that URL from your website into this text box. And the reason that's so important is so that the tutor who's working with you can go and click on that link and see what you're working on and what the professor's expectations are. As a part of our feedback, we will let you know if you're staying on track, or is there a part of the prompt that you haven't addressed yet that we might help you with. So that's the most important thing here. Of course, you are welcome to give us as much information as you would like. If you want help with certain parts of your writing or certain sections of a paper, you can give us that feedback here, and we will definitely tailor our feedback to your requests. Some information about the assignment. This second to last text box is about how the way you receive feedback. So generally we give written feedback either through Turnitin or through Microsoft Word, giving you comments directly on your paper. Sometimes a tutor will also give you a video feedback. So we might give you an explanation verbally or go over some different aspects of your paper and then send you that video in addition to the textual feedback. If that does not work for you for any reason, you can let us know that you don't want video feedback here, and we will take that into account. Lastly, if there's anything else you want the tutor to know, you're welcome to add that here. And just below this, I cut the image off. Just below this last question is where that button is to create the appointment. So don't forget to push that button. And we got a great question asking if snippet images could be copied into this feedback input box. And that's a good question. I haven't seen anyone try it before. So my suggestion is just give it a try. If not, try and copy and paste their text right into this text box. Sorry, I'm not sure right off the top, but that's a great question. Giving professor comments that you aren't sure how to implement is a great way to use this appointment form as well, because we can help you kind of interpret the professor's feedback and look for places where you can implement it in the paper. So whenever you're ready to upload your paper, go back into that appointment form and use this first text box to submit your paper. Like I mentioned, you're allowed 2 appointments with us per week, so that's why there's 2 links. Basically, if it's your first paper you're getting feedback for, use this first link. If it's your second submission, use the second link. And a great question asking if a file could be attached to the appointment form with the images. I don't believe we have that capability. Of course, you're welcome to try, but rather than attaching anything to the appointment form, you can email the tutor. So you'll see the tutor's email address right at the top of your appointment form. And if it's not possible to attach it here, just email that to the tutor and we'll be sure to see that. So those are great questions. So a few things to keep in mind to help you get the best feedback from Writing Center tutors. Be specific about what you want if you know what you want, like we mentioned. And then keep in mind that if it's a 30, even a 60-minute appointment, we are not going to be able to edit the whole paper or check that everything is perfect. Instead, we'll look for patterns, we'll look for things that you requested we give you feedback on, and overall organization and things that we think might be improved. You can make appointments up to 2 weeks in advance. So especially as we get closer to finals week, that's a great way to make sure you get a spot in case our schedule is starting to fill up with appointments as we get busier. And use the feedback you receive from your tutor as a checklist. You can go through each item, checking it off, and also you can use that feedback in future papers as well. So I do want to make sure I cover how to access tutor.com because you also have a certain number of hours with this service for free as an ACU student. So I highly suggest using tutor.com and using up all those hours every term. So when it's your first time to use tutor.com, you can use their paper review service, which is very similar to what I've been describing, where you're submitting a paper and someone will give you feedback. The link to tutor.com is in any course in Canvas on the left-hand menu. And the very first time, you'll want to make sure you click Forgot Your Password and follow the prompts to set that up. From there, you can go directly to tutor.com and make your appointments. It will look like this, and there's an option to submit a paper for review. They also have tutoring in other subjects other than writing. So if you are in like a statistics class or other sorts of assignments that you're wanting feedback on, you can check out the different areas that tutors can work with you on. And if you are submitting a paper though, make sure you specify that you're using APA as your style. They're working with students all over the country, maybe all over the world, I should say, and using lots of different citation styles like MLA or Chicago. So make sure you specify APA if you're wanting some feedback relevant to that style. And great question asking how much time you have with tutor.com for free each term. Don't quote me on this. I think it's 10 hours per term. But if you are unsure about that, you might ask your student services advisor and just double check. And that would be the best way to double check that. Another way to get feedback is from your peers. And this is one that people don't often think of. So as you're writing discussion posts and responding to your peers, once you've discussed the required portion of the assignment. You can also give and receive feedback about your ideas, here's what I'm thinking about writing about, what do you think? As long as you've covered the required prompts, you can take the discussion in that direction as well, or even email your fellow students. Oh, thank you, everyone. Someone mentioned that someone just told you in your walk to class that it was 15 hours for free with tutor.com. So I'm going to trust you on that one, and it's 15 hours. Another way to get feedback is, of course, from your professors. So when you're reaching out to professors, though, there's a few things that we recommend keeping in mind. Always check the syllabus or the assignment description first if you have questions. Make sure you've done your due diligence and you've read what they've provided you. And if you do that and you still have questions, mention that you read this and you're still confused. You can also state what other resources you might have used to try and find the solution or the answer to your question. And all of that will be helpful to your professor to really be able to help you. Be timely. Hopefully, it's not the very night that something is due. Your professor might not even see that until after you need their feedback. So try to think ahead in each week. And if you are going to reach out to your faculty, try and do that early rather than later. All right, so for our second objective, I do want to get into the writing process and help you through one way, at least, of how to get started on your essays. So we know that many, if not most, of ACU Dallas students are working full-time or caretaking. You have a lot on your plate. And so with this in mind, we acknowledge that this could be a feast or famine type of study and writing habits where you rush your coursework. It's not possible to do it every day, so you try and fit it all into one day. We know this happens. We're not going to ignore that. So with that in mind, we always suggest returning to the assignment description when you're doing your writing assignment. That way you'll know, you don't have to remember what the assignment was. You can answer each prompt with it right in front of you. And if you are feeling nervous, or this is your first time in graduate school, or whatever the case is for you, keep in mind that we naturally get better at the things that we do all the time. So over the course of this term, you are going to see improvement in your writing and in your papers. And visiting the Writing Center is also associated with improved performance and grades on assignments. Plus, it's free, so give us a try and see if it's helpful to you. It won't hurt. So in this next part, I want to go over an example from Core 115. And if you're in this course, great. If you're not, this example will still apply to you. We're really just going to be going over the process of starting an essay, not really getting into the specifics of this particular assignment. So let me pull up that Canvas assignment and go over that along with the APA template that I mentioned from the Writing Center's website. This last thing I'll mention here is make sure when you download our template, you open it up using Microsoft Word instead of something else like Google Docs. That way you can keep all of the formatting that's already in APA, and it'll stay consistent for when you're typing and submitting your paper. All right, you should now see Canvas. Let me know if you don't see that. And Again, this is from Core 115. This is an upcoming essay, a reflection essay called A Moment of Meaning. Any course in Canvas, this is the assignment page where you can see the prompt. You can scroll down, make sure you read the whole prompt. And past the prompt is the rubric, so how you're going to be graded on each item of the criteria. And like I mentioned, when you are making that Writing Center appointment, we need the link to the assignment. This is that URL. So when you're in the assignment page, copy and paste the URL here, and that's what you can paste into the appointment form so the tutor can see this assignment page as well. So you can see, I'm not going to go over all of this, but at the beginning of a week, I recommend reading over this assignment, whatever assignment is coming up. And you might even do this before you do any of the readings or other weekly activities, so you know what's coming. One of the best reasons for this is that then if you know what you're going to be writing about at the end of a week, you can be looking for quotes that stand out, relevant ideas that you need to highlight that will pertain to the essay you're writing as you're doing the reading the rest of the week. Another thing, let me pull up the paper template. So once you have read over this assignment, you could even copy and paste this whole assignment description into our template. That is one way to use the template and make sure you're keeping the assignment prompt in mind while you're doing your writing. So one moment as I pull up the template and show you how you might get started on this essay. All right, you should now see my Word document. Once you've downloaded and opened the template in Microsoft Word, this is what you'll see. This first comment in the margin is a video tutorial. It's very brief. I highly recommend it if you've never used a template like this before with styles involved. Once you've read over these helpful comments about how to fill in different parts of the template, you can go and delete all of the comments. So let me show you how to do that. Up in the review tab. So if the review tab is hidden, you can click review again and it will open up this whole menu. And from here, we can see in this little menu about comments, we can delete them. And if we open that small arrow, we can delete all the comments in the document with one click. You might even do that once you've looked over the comments, delete them, and then save this clean copy to your desktop or wherever is most convenient for you to open it up. That way you don't have to do that every time you start a new paper. And if you're writing an essay that needs to be in APA format, this is what it will look like. So we've already got a title page here, and that is required for every essay in APA format. We've got page numbers, the correct font, the correct bolding. So this is a real time saver for you, especially if APA is unfamiliar. But even if you are familiar with APA, manually formatting all of this can take some time. So that's our intent with providing you this template. We hope you make use of it. And if you have questions about it at any point, feel free to make a Writing Center appointment and ask for help using the template. I'm happy to work with you on that. So basically, you can just start filling in each part of this template. The title, I'm just going to keep the title as it is in the Canvas page, and you can do the same depending on your Canvas assignment. So this one, Reflection Essay, A Moment of Meaning. That's a fine title. And then, of course, you start replacing your information in each part of the title page and keep scrolling through. You'll see that the second page in the template is an abstract page. This is only required, or you should only have an abstract if it's explicitly required in your assignment. So for some graduate coursework, especially for dissertations, an abstract is needed, but for many course papers, it's not required and it's not in this example. So we'll just delete that. And instead, the second page is the start of our paper. And that's a great question in the chat. Do the weekly assignments follow this template, or is this for larger projects? The answer is yes. Weekly assignments, any essays you're writing, they follow this template. And even larger research papers follow this template as well. For those of you who are in our doctoral programs and eventually will be writing dissertations or research projects, we have separate templates for those because they are more involved. They have table of contents and things like that. So you can also see those on our website and go ahead and download it if you want to take a look and see what that final project is going to look like. But for most other graduate and undergraduate courses, this template that you're seeing is all you'll need to use. So we can just copy and paste that title from the title page. We need it again at the top of our paper. And if you scroll through the template, you'll see it's just filler text. You can delete it, but it is a good example of a longer paper that uses APA headings. And so if you are writing a paper that's maybe 6 pages or longer, you might have a need to use APA headings to subdivide your paper into those major sections. And this is an example of what that would look like with different levels of heading. At the end of every APA paper is your references list. So every resource you've used in your paper will have a reference entry here at the end. And these are actually not filler text. These are templates for different kinds of sources. So this first one is a journal article, and it tells you what you need to put in the reference to fill it out completely, what information you need about the source. An online journal article, a book. If you're citing something from a book, this is how it would look. So you can use citation generators or anything like that to get started, but always double check. I've never found one that's perfect. So this is a really good way to get used to looking for the right kind of capitalization, italics, things like that. Again, if you're interested in a deeper dive into APA, the format and how to cite sources, I highly recommend coming to the Introduction to APA webinar. That's on Tuesday, and you can RSVP for that on our website, or just show up. That's fine too. Okay, so this paper, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you wanted, you could copy and paste the assignment instructions right here into the paper. That way you could save this as a draft and you've read over it, come back to it in a couple more days when you're ready to start writing, and you can see all the things that you're supposed to do. One thing to keep in mind is that the instructions in every assignment are not just recommendations. They are things you have to write about in order to get a good grade. So that's why having each question in the prompt right there as you're writing, you can check them off and make sure you are, in fact, answering each part of the prompt. And a great question, asking more about the APA Canvas course, that self-paced resource in your Canvas courses, asking if that course provides the same information as the webinar. Some of it is the same. Actually, much of it will be the same, but our APA webinar, of course, is more interactive. You can come with questions if you have them, and we'll go over more specific details in that webinar about APA. A great question about how to cite personal experience when writing. And that's actually something we will talk about in the Introduction to APA webinar, how to cite different kinds of sources. And one of them is your own experience. That is what we call an informal citation. So it doesn't have a website. You can't go find your personal experience in a publication necessarily. So if you're just referring to my 10 years as a nursing executive, or in your personal experience, that's all you need to say. In my 10 years as a high school teacher, I saw this. That's an informal citation, but it does add credibility to that statement because we can see, oh, it's not just your opinion. You are grounding this in some form of expertise. Generally, you do want to rely more on published academic sources like journal articles and book chapters. But that's a great question, and we're getting into the details there. So if you're interested in more about that, come to Tuesday's webinar. All right, so if we were writing this essay, we need to have the introduction here. And we have some notes here. We don't need any headings for the introduction. It's assumed that this first paragraph is your introduction paragraph. So that's what we'll write. We would write that paragraph here, and the introduction paragraph just needs to be an overview of the contents of this paper. Sometimes the easiest way to write that is after you've written the rest of the paper. So you know what is in the paper, you can summarize it here, kind of forecast it, and give the reader an idea of what's to come later in the paper. We might, if we were writing this paper, there are 2 parts to this assignment. So we could replace this with a part 1 and make sure we answer those questions in a few paragraphs here. And you might even start outlining the different things that you are required to answer in each section. Again, you don't even have to do the readings to make an outline sometimes of the things that are required from the prompt. And in many cases, the assignment description is almost an outline already for you. So keep that in mind. Let's see, if we wanted to delete all of this, filler text, and let's say this is part 2. These are the actual requirements of this assignment. So these are fine headings to kind of separate the major sections. And let's say we are required to have a conclusion paragraph. We could add a conclusion heading. If you just type something in and you want to make it a heading, the way that you make this a heading is by using the styles. So really briefly, I'll show you that. We'll go to the home page, and here is where we have the styles. And in this template, we've got all APA level headings. So this is a first level heading that we need. So we'll use APA level 1. And all I need to do is put my cursor in whatever I'm trying to make a heading and push APA level 1. And you can see it automatically formats it for you. And that's really one of the time savers about using this template. All right, so the question was how to sign up for webinars, and I will put the link in the chat room for RSVPing. You, again, don't have to RSVP to attend, but if you do RSVP, you'll get a reminder email, and then you'll also receive the recording after it's done straight to your inbox. So it's a great thing to do if you're interested in a webinar and you're not sure you can attend it live. All right. So I'm going to move back to our slides to close us out. I hope seeing the template in action makes you feel a little more confident in using it in your own writing process. Many students use it and find it helpful. So find what works for you and make sure you explore the resources that you have available to you as you're getting started in this term. There were many questions about APA. So for those of you who you just have lots more questions, or APA is totally foreign, that's a different language, we have all of these webinars coming up. So again, you can see that full schedule on our website. And we actually have a link where you could add our webinar schedule to your Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use. So you could see it that way as well. So find what works for you. All of this is on our webinar page on the Writing Center's website. In addition to those webinar recordings I showed you on our website, we also update our YouTube channel. So that's another great place to find different playlists for different programs that we've curated, different webinars and tutorials. So these last few slides, I'm going to breeze through them. They are here for you if you want to return to them. You can download these slides again from our website and go over these tips for developing writing and planning habits that work for you. Because there's really not one size fits all. But I want to make sure I respect your time. We've got lots of information and lots more resources that we could talk about. If you do have questions for us, make sure you email us your questions at onlinewritingcenter@acu.edu. And again, if you are looking for more writing tips and how to get into that writing mindset for academic courses, we've got webinars that are going to go over more of that information. The first one is this Sunday evening, Introduction to Graduate Writing and APA Style. So here's our shared email address. Schedule a tutoring appointment. Go ahead and save your spot if you know you would like some feedback in the coming weeks. And go ahead and explore the Online Writing Center's website. Now is a great time before you're too busy in the swing of it to just acquaint yourself with those resources and be ready to use them. So I'm going to stick around for another few minutes if you have any questions, but I'm so glad you were able to join us, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.